they raided my houses and my property, they was asking about Wack. Wack, loose cannon, 600, and this internet stuff. All of y'all filed. Wack said 100 times he was gonna take my contracts. He working with the FBI.
I will say, some of what you may have done may have helped with the timing, right? I think you.
What's that?
I think you tipping off Big U. I think that definitely.
I did
helped with the
what?
timing. I think that they think Big U is about to be on the run. Honestly, why would he be on the run? Wack is on everywhere. Yo, they're coming. End of the month.
Everybody know Big U and Nipsey had an argument, homie. Everybody know Big U was shaking Nipsey Hussle down, making him pay protection fee, sorta. Nipsey Hussle got smart and say, I don't wanna pay you $20,000 a month no more, and Nipsey Hussle come up dead. He lost his protection, and the hood killed him. We all know this, homie.
As we all know, Big U is currently behind bars, but his incarceration doesn't necessarily mean the streets are any safer. Among many serious accusations leveled against him is murder, allegedly of Nipsey Hussle, and another name that's come up in his indictment is Rayan Williams, his own artist whom he allegedly killed after the man disrespected him. If Big U is capable of that, it raises the question, what could he do to the people who's been exposing him or speaking out, the very actions that may have contributed to his imprisonment? There's also the matter of federal wiretaps. In one intercepted call from 2023, Big U is reportedly heard saying, "Can't no dude beef with me, cause if he do, I'ma kill him, period. I am going to murder him." That chilling statement only reinforces the allegations surrounding Nipsey and Rayan's death. Now, if you're wondering how he could possibly carry out such acts from behind bars, it's worth remembering, back in 1991, Big U and his father were arrested in a drug sting, and Big U ended up with a 23-year sentence. Yet even while incarcerated, he was reportedly still running the drug trade within the prison system, something he himself admitted in an interview on The Breakfast Club.
I basically took over the whole little drug trade on the yard, because I had money.
Today, Big U remains the top boss of the Rollin' 60s, meaning he likely still holds the power and reach to make things happen on the outside, including eliminating threats. So, who's allegedly on Big U's radar right now? First up is Blacc Sam. Blacc Sam is Nipsey's brother, and if there's one thing he's been doing, it's speaking up against Big U and his crew. We all know Eric Holder was convicted for Nipsey's murder, but the streets, and especially Blacc Sam, know that the hit came from someone higher up. One thing Blacc Sam said during an interview with Big Boy TV was how there was big politics involved with certain people.
But there was a lot of big politics getting into it with certain people.
He even mentioned Nipsey and brought DJ Khaled to the hood, which turned into a major issue. Nipsey had linked up with DJ Khaled and John Legend for the song Higher and planned to shoot the music video in the 60s. But as the story goes, as soon as Big U heard about it, things took a turn. Allegedly, he sent a gang of Rollin' 60s members to press Nipsey about it, but Nipsey, being who he was, stood his ground.
You know, Hussle had DJ Khaled in the hood, and Hussle frontline that, and you know, we felt like certain people didn't like that.
Blacc Sam didn't mention Big U by name, but everyone knew exactly who he was talking about. Big U always had a problem with artists coming into the hood without checking in, and Nipsey wasn't trying to play that game. Nipsey always had a bigger vision. He wanted to unite the community, bring Bloods and Crips together, and work towards something bigger than gang politics. That's why he worked with YG, an active Blood, to show that unity was possible. But that went against Big U's vision, and it made Nipsey a target.
YG can come to our hood. He's a Blood. He's from Pyro. He can come to the 60s. I can go over there. I've been over there with my jewelry on and my being myself, and they, you know, they respect it. They love it. I was unheard of. You couldn't do that. You know, so it's different right now. Not to say it's like a gang treaty, a peace treaty. It's not that, but they know we pushing for the city. Right. So, you know, the streets behind it, and they respect it.
Blacc Sam has always been the type to stand firm against Big U, especially when it comes to defending his brother. One major example was when Nipsey dropped You Don't Got a Clue, a track that many believe was a direct diss at Big U, especially with lines like, "I'm busy getting rich, you think I'm going to stop for you? I built this on my own and everybody knows it's true. Still dudes act like they supposed to have control of what I do." As soon as Big U heard the track, he and some of his people allegedly pulled up on Nipsey to confront him, but they didn't just want to check on him, they wanted to discipline him, and in street terms, that meant something serious.
Nipsey dissed, right? And he was like, hey, cuz, is this song about me? So Nipsey stood up or whatever and was like, yeah. So he was drinking some water out of a water bottle and he threw it on Nipsey, right? He was like, we're gonna have to go get down or whatever. So he thought Nipsey was gonna back down. Nipsey stood up and
They supposedly planned to take him away for a DP or disciplinary action, but before things could go any further, Blacc Sam stepped in. Blacc Sam stood his ground and told Big U straight up Nipsey wasn't going anywhere with him.
Blacc Sam said, cuz my brother ain't going nowhere. You was like, in front of the hood or whatever like that. He was like, my brother ain't going nowhere.
Then there was another incident where Big U confronted Nipsey and it turned into a full-blown fight. According to sources, Big U actually got the upper hand and beat Nipsey down, but before things could go any further, Blacc Sam ran inside, grabbed a pistol, and fired a warning shot at the air to break things up.
You knock Nipsey out, Blacc Sam comes out, fires 3-4 shots in the air. He's fresh out the penitentiary. Police sitting right across the street, they see it. They come in, they arrest everybody.
And even after his brother was killed by the very same people, Blacc Sam hasn't changed his stance one bit. In fact, he seems even more fearless, standing on business and protecting Nipsey's legacy at all costs. Wack 100. Next is Wack 100. Wack and Big U used to be real close, but their relationship eventually fell apart, and ever since then, Wack 100 hasn't held back on speaking about Big U. In fact, before Big U turned himself in, one of the people he pointed fingers at was Wack 100, along with Loose Cannon and 600. In a video Big U posted, he said, "I just want to say this, when they raided my house and my property, they was asking about Wack. Wack, Loose Cannon, 600, and this internet stuff. All of y'all foul."
When they raided my houses and my property, they was asking about Wack. Wack, Loose Cannon, 600, and this internet stuff. All of y'all foul.
Big U even went as far as accusing Wack 100 of cooperating with the feds. If you had something against a black man, handle it with a black man in the streets, he said. Wack said 100 times he was gonna take my contracts. He was working with the FBI. The FBI went to the city 3 days in a row, and they told the city they didn't want nobody to give me no more money. On top of that, Wack 100 also co-signed Loose Cannon when Loose was sharing a story about how he spoke to Nipsey just before the shooting. At the time, Loose didn't think much of what Big U had said. He brushed it off.
You don't even warn him that you got that call from dude.
No, because their relationship was so fucked up, it'd be like they be hot one minute.
That detail alone suggests Big U may have slipped up by reaching out too soon, right before Nipsey was killed.
And 30 minutes after you get out the phone with Nip, he get killed.
Yeah, I got it.
So
all
you
on
think
the
he hit
TV
you
show.
a little too early?
Loose Cannon. But that's just part of the story. Loose Cannon had straight up accused Big U of backdooring Nipsey on multiple occasions. In fact, during an interview with DJ Academics, Loose gave a wild account of how Meek Mill was allegedly kidnapped and held for ransom by members of the Rollin' 60s on Big U's orders.
I was talking real reckless on Twitter and stuff like that. So
Talking reckless.
reckless.
Doing it now.
Yeah, so we caught him at the club where he was performing at, and then grabbed cuz.
When Academics asked why Meek Security didn't intervene, Loose explained that many LA bodyguards are more loyal to the gangs than to the celebs they're hired to protect. According to him, Rick Ross ended up paying $50,000 to get Meek Mill released.
So he called Rick Ross
And,
right there in the club.
Yeah. And then brought.
Imagine if his cell reception was bad.
That incident supposedly played a role in Meek and Nipsey getting closer. They started using the same PR, and Meek began reaching out to Nipsey, but it also deepened the rift between Nipsey and Big U. Loose Cannon is also one of the people caught up in the Big U RICO case. Charleston White. Next up is Charleston White. Known for speaking his mind, Charleston has outright said Big U was the one behind Nipsey's death. According to him, Nipsey refused to keep paying Big U for so-called protection, and that didn't sit well. One theory Charleston pushed is that Nipsey was killed because he stopped playing the extortion game.
Everybody know Big U and Nipsey had an argument, homie. Everybody know Big U was shaking Nipsey Hussle down, making him pay protection fee, sorta. Nipsey Hussle got smart and say, I don't wanna pay you $20,000 a month no more.
Another angle is that Nipsey simply got too big. Even though Big U was a powerhouse in the streets, Nipsey's rise meant all the attention shifted away from Big U, and in gang culture, nobody's allowed to be bigger than the gang, so they had to get rid of him.
Man, Big U wasn't till Nipsey Hussle died. Let me just say that, homie. Wasn't nobody screaming Big U till he had to get the little homie out the way. It was Nip, Nip, Nip. It wasn't you. Big U ain't shit in the hood when Nip come through the hood. The little homies ain't looking at Big U, they looking at Nip, cuz. Yeah, Nip was getting bigger than the set, cuz. And don't nobody get bigger than the set is what I was told. So they killed that nigga.
These are just few of the people who might be on Big U's radar for speaking out, but then there are those who the streets believe Big U already handled, people who crossed him and ended up dead shortly after. Fats. First up is Stephen Giles Fats Donaldson, Nipsey's childhood best friend. He was killed in a drive-by shooting in 2017, and rumor has it Big U was behind it. Apparently, Fats put hands on Big U after Big U was pressing Nip, and Fats stood up for his friend. Just a week later, Fats was gone. Rayan Williams. Then there's Rayan Williams. Back in 2021, Big U started a record label called Unique Music and signed up-and-coming rappers from the West Coast. One of them was Rayan Williams, but somewhere along the line, things got messy.
Mr. Henley engaged in a murder of a musician signed to his label in 2021 and dumped the victim's body.
It's not exactly clear what sparked the tension between them, but what we do know is that Rayan ended up dropping a diss track aimed at Big U, and that may have cost him his life.
They do say that part of the investigation involves the murder of another young rapper back in Las Vegas, that he had written something in a song supposedly talking bad about Big U, and that is why he ended up getting murdered.
In the song, Rayan called Big U a bro that made some money, basically downplaying his power, and then took it a step further by saying, "This song can get me killed for thinking ish funny." Even crazier, he rapped about getting shot in the face with a .38 revolver that would leave no trace.
Referring to Big U as bro that makes some money, and that unnamed rapper may get shot in the face for thinking that his use of the studio and representation by Unique Music is funny.
5 days after dropping the track, Las Vegas police found his body in a ditch. He had been shot in the face with a revolver, and the cops think Big U is the one who pulled the trigger.
But the track was eerie given what happened next. Just days later, the rapper was shot in the face.
And here's where it gets even darker. Big U had known Rayan when he was a kid. He was actually his football coach back in the day, but that history didn't stop him from allegedly setting him up. According to some documents, Big U's label, Unique Music, flew Rayan from California to Las Vegas in January 2021. They put him in an Airbnb, and he was supposed to spend the week recording new music at the studio. But when Rayan missed one of the sessions, Big U and his right-hand man, Sylvester Robinson, drove out to Vegas to check on him. When they pulled up to the Airbnb, they asked Rayan why he didn't go to the studio, and he told him he didn't have a ride. The next day, Rayan, Big U, and Sylvester Robinson finally made it to the studio together. No one knows exactly what went down inside, but what we do know is that a few hours later, Rayan was dead.
On January 24th of 2021, Big U arrived to a studio and RW was there, recording until around midnight. A little after 12:30 a.m., Big U left the studio and his phone stopped reporting his location.
Surveillance footage caught him going back to the Airbnb at around 1 a.m. He was seen getting out of the car, grabbing his suitcase, and then hopping back in. He was supposed to stay in Vegas for another day, but Big U allegedly had other plans. According to investigators, Big U drove him out to the desert, shot him in the face, and then went right back to the studio like nothing happened.
About 45 minutes later, surveillance video at the Airbnb showed RW exiting the passenger side of the car and entering the Airbnb. A few minutes later, he left the Airbnb with a suitcase, got back into the car, and left. RW wasn't seen again. He wasn't even supposed to leave Vegas until the next day, but he never returned to the Airbnb. Instead, his body was found on the side of the road near Interstate 15.
A witness later told cops that Big U showed back up at the studio at around 3 a.m., looking drenched in either sweat or water. When they asked him what happened, he told them he had just come back from the gym, but a few hours later, cops found Rayan's body dumped in a ditch, and Big U didn't stop there. According to the indictment, he tried to cover his tracks. He allegedly took recording equipment out of the studio after the murder and told someone to get rid of the surveillance footage from that night. Investigators also believe there was some kind of fight at the studio before Rayan got killed, which is why Big U wanted the video gone.
Witnesses told detectives an associate of Big U removed the video recording equipment from the studio a few days after the homicide, including video that would have shown RW and Big U at the studio before he was murdered.
After Rayan's death, Big U knew the heat was coming, so he allegedly had one of his homies drive his car and stay at his house. That way, if the cops pulled over the car or showed up at the crib, it would buy him some time to escape before they actually caught him. Nobody really knows the exact reason Big U allegedly killed Rayan, but this murder is what put him on the FBI's radar. Just a month after Rayshawn's death, the feds officially launched an investigation into Big U's enterprise, Nipsey Hussle. And then there's Nipsey Hussle. Big U and Nipsey Hussle weren't always at odds. In fact, at one point, they were actually close business partners. The relationship goes back to 2007 when Nipsey signed with Epic Records in preparation for what was supposed to be his debut studio album, South Central State of Mind. The real breaking point was Nipsey wanting to cut ties with Big U's label. Allegedly, Nipsey felt trapped in a shady deal, one where he believed he was being extorted by Big U. But if you ask Big U, he has a different version of events. According to him, the conflict actually started when he stepped away from the music industry. During that time, Nipsey had possession of Big U's recording equipment, and when Big U wanted it back, Nipsey wasn't too happy about it. Eventually, Big U was able to recover his equipment, but that situation alone led to some serious friction between the two. From there, things just continued to spiral. Nipsey reportedly took offense to how Big U handled the situation, and their relationship started to shift. Then came You Don't Got a Clue, a track that many believe was a direct diss aimed at Big U. But the tension between them didn't just stop at music and business. Their family ties added even more fuel to the fire. Nipsey's first baby mother was actually Big U's niece, and during that time, things between Nipsey and her weren't great. Nipsey didn't approve of the company she kept around their daughter. Allegedly, there were guns, drugs, and alcohol present, and Nipsey wasn't going to stand for it. One incident in particular escalated things further. Nipsey reportedly went over to his baby mother's house alone and ended up pistol whipping a guy she was involved with. The altercation got ugly, and the man was beaten so badly that he had to be taken to the hospital. In the chaos, it was said that his baby mother might have been hurt as well. Once Big U caught wind of what happened, he immediately pulled up to Nipsey's store to confront him. Heated words were exchanged, and things quickly turned physical. According to sources, Big U beat Nipsey down, which led to Blacc Sam running inside to grab a pistol. In an attempt to break things up, Blacc Sam fired a warning shot in the air, but that only made things worse. Within moments, LAPD swarmed the scene. When the police arrived, they saw Blacc Sam with a gun still in his hand, and without hesitation, they opened fire on him. Miraculously, not a single bullet hit him. Instead of being killed, he was arrested on the spot, along with Nipsey and Big U. The three of them were taken to the 77th Street Division, but they all managed to bail out the next morning. Despite all the tension, Nipsey continued to rise in the music industry. In 2011, he started collaborating with YG, and that came with its own set of problems. At the time, it was not common to see Pyrus hanging out in 60s territory, but Nipsey wasn't one to follow outdated politics. When they filmed the Girls Ain't Ish video, Nipsey invited YG to the 60s, and that did not sit right with Big U. He made it known that he disapproved, and Nipsey had to defend his decision. He ended up fighting multiple Rollin' 60s members just to have YG there. That respect was mutual. YG later invited Nipsey into Treetop Pyru territory for another video shoot, and the two built a strong friendship from there. Over time, Nipsey's career skyrocketed. He went from being an underground street rapper to a Grammy-nominated artist. But even with all the success, the issues with Big U were still lurking in the background. At times, it seemed like things between them were cooling down. They would be on decent terms for brief moments, but there was always tension under the surface.
He really exudes everything that you need to exercise in business.
And on top of that, Big U had gained a reputation for allegedly extorting artists who wanted to come into 60s territory. According to rumors, any rapper or big-name artist looking to step foot in the neighborhood had to check in and pay a tax to Big U if they wanted to move around without any problems. Then came early 2019. He had linked up with DJ Khaled and John Legend for the song Higher and planned to shoot the music video in the 60s. But as soon as Big U heard about it, things took a turn. Allegedly, he sent a gang of Rollin' 60s members to press Nipsey about it. Nipsey stood his ground, but the pressure was overwhelming. In the end, he was forced to relocate the entire video shoot to the top of a parking structure in Inglewood. Security had to be beefed up as well because Nipsey was receiving death threats, supposedly from the Inglewood families, a dominant blood gang in the city. Then, just days later, Nipsey Hussle was murdered. Almost immediately, speculation began swirling that Big U had something to do with it. People started piecing together their rocky history, their past altercations, and the fact that Big U did not attend Nipsey's funeral. Whether or not the feds try to connect him to Nipsey Hussle's murder, it looks like Big U's time is finally up. With so much evidence stacked against him, there's a good chance that some of his own guys are going to flip to reduce their own sentences. The feds already have 50+ witnesses, informants, phone records, and videos. And once dudes start talking to save themselves, it's a wrap.